That's pretty wonderful. I love the angle of like a pudgy adventurer, and it's like, winter's ending, adventure season's coming. I gotta shed a couple of pounds so that I look good in my armor.
I need to get my 2 strength back. I'm all constitution now.
Welcome to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones. I'm Sav.
And I'm Greythorn.
And you may have noticed that we're missing someone. There was a short introduction. We've been talking for a long time about doing a 2-person podcast, and it's finally happened. Unfortunately, Nix will no longer be joining.
He has been removed from the island. He did not pass go. He would not collect $200. It's over.
It's over. We decided we didn't need him. Deaf audio engineer, get him out of here. No, he will be joining us again next week, of course. And as you might imagine, his NPC visage is sitting at the table quietly until we need to use him for combat. So today's topic, instead of rolling for it, I had an idea, since this is the first time we've done a 2-person podcast, absent players.
Ah,
Seemed like a good time to do absent players.
yeah. You know, see, this was a good idea. That's why I asked, are we going to do the show standard?
Yeah, I just, I imagine absent players was going to be one of our topics at some point anyways, so why not do it when we have an absent player? On that note, I would like to start with, so the idea of absent players as a topic is like, how do you handle it? What do you do as a DM? How have you seen it handled? How do you handle it? When do you call the session, or what do you do if you're not calling the session, blah, 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 blah. I would like to bring up anecdotally from our Lord's Fall campaign that Nix ran.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, what he did was we had a cart that we took adventuring with us that had a magical darkness and
magical silence inside it.
Yeah, and we just called it the meat cart. Because we had like 12 players, and we were like, yeah, they're just sleeping in the cart. All 5 of them are just sleeping in the cart.
Yeah, we had an entire party just snoozing inside the empty void that was our mobile RV, our APC, if you will.
It was great. It was a great way to handle it in a goofier campaign.
Yeah.
In a goofier campaign, I think that was a funny and wonderful way to handle it, because when people came back to the table, it's like, yeah, they got out of the cart. They're just here. It was one of those answers which you do see a lot of, like, the DM kind of not wanting to deal with it and also not wanting to waste time with it, because if you do something narratively, then you have to figure it out. So instead of having to figure it out, there are DMs that come up with whatever answer or non-answer, so that when a player comes back, they're like, yeah, you're just here. You were here the whole time. And Meat Cart was a pretty good...
Was perfect.
Yeah.
It's no need to drag around a bunch of player characters and NPCs. No need to worry about what they are doing, if they exist, if you're going on them with a mission, are they going to be there, and are you going to play as them as a DM? Just toss them in the cart.
Yeah.
The cart was the perfect solution for Lord's Fall. And aside from Lord's Fall, I mean, in our games, we've had a decent amount of absent players. In Lord's Fall, in Realm Watchers, although
Realm Watchers didn't matter because they were one-shots.
Didn't matter too much.
Yeah.
G&G.
G&G for sure. So, like, yeah, we definitely had it in G&G. We had absent players, and we kind of just... So the way I did it is like, oh yeah, narratively, they're air quotes. They're around, but, they're not here right now for whatever reason. And then when they come back, it's like, you're here.
Mm-hmm.
You've been here the whole time. Depending, actually, I mean, there were other things that we did do, like when I knew that players were going to be absent for a long time, we retired them at camp and things like that. But
yeah, when I was absent, you just had my character coughing up a tuberculosis storm somewhere.
Yeah, he's just coughing over there. I think the explanation was that you stayed in the hotel that you guys had, and you were just, you couldn't get any sleep because of all your coughing, so you just stayed in your hotel.
Perfect.
It also helped that your character was an old man.
Yeah. Glad I did that.
Yeah. He's a wonderful character and very easy to table when you're absent.
Despite being the leader. And then you know what? The funniest shit happened when he was gone.
Or when the party split as well. There's just a lot of funny shit of like you being able to either come back to the table or come back to the party when it was either a split or an absence, and being like, God damn it, what the hell's going on over here? What you guys doing, you
God
fools?
damn it, Lucky, what the heck did you do?
Love it. Yeah. So like that was kind of always a little bit of an easier, because either you guys were going to be at camp in the woods.
Yeah, there was a system in play for NPCs, and that also worked for the players when they were gone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just naturally worked for the players. But yeah, now that I'm running like loads of different games, I find myself doing different things depending on the campaign. And I really don't like, in more serious campaigns, even though G&G was, I don't necessarily like the, oh, you're here, but you're not here. And then when you come back, you're just back.
Mm-hmm.
I like adding a little bit more flair if I can to why someone's absent or why they're back. But there's loads of things that I do, but I'd rather start with none of that. How many players, I guess it depends on the party size, of course, but how many players until you just call a session? Or does it depend on what players?
It depends on a lot of things, really. So, like, my first major campaign, it was 4 players. One player decided to never show up. Player number 2 decided to quit halfway through session 2. And then I was left with 2 players who are still with me today.
Okay.
So when one player did show up, I'm like, you know what? It's fine. If he wants to join us, he could join us. We'll just toss him right in. I'll make something up. It'll work. When player 2 decided to disappear, I'm like, all right, you guys still want to play? All right, we could do a 2-man game's fine.
Yeah.
But then when it got down to 2 people, it's like, well, if one of these guys doesn't show up, I can't play the game.
Yeah. On 2-player campaigns, I've had that twice, where I've had 2-player campaigns. And if one of them doesn't show up, I just call it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to just like
unless
it's weird.
Unless on the previous game, somebody had set themselves up to be doing something on their own, it would be perfectly fine.
That's so rare, though.
It is rare. There is another thing that I would like to try one day. But now that I have more than 2 players, I need all but one of them to not show up for a game. Koibu, once again, I like to bring him up all the time. My inspiration as DM. He, in one of his campaigns, Frozen Frontier, when one of his players or multiple of his players were just gone for the week for whatever reason, he's like, all right, we're going to do a special episode. We're doing an episode from your character's past.
I've done those.
It's great.
Yeah, I love them.
Fantastic.
Have you done them?
Not yet.
They're great.
I would like to with at least one character, just because his character is a psychopath, a walking tornado of event nudging and apocalypse event driving and all that shit. So
it gives such great perspective to players, especially like players that are like, let's say you have a player character that's like a dumb barbarian,
mm-hmm.
right? Or like disruptive players or whatever. Players that let other players do the role playing or investigating or being careful or whatever, or just use the fact that they have a player party to get away with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put them by themselves in a one shot.
Now
and
they got to be the thinker,
but
man.
they do it naturally. You don't even need to bring it up. It's just like, okay, well, there's still a puzzle.
And another great part is that because it's an episode of their past, it doesn't matter if they die or if they, lose a fight, hit 0 HP, or dead, stranded in the middle of nowhere. Eventually, they're going to be back to where they are today.
They have to.
So they can be doing whatever feels right for their character, no matter what.
Yes. That is an actually important thing to talk about on that style of thing is when doing something that is in the past, it becomes about succeeding or failing or getting what you want out of the story rather than living or dying because you know you live. It'd
Yes.
be really weird if you didn't live and the DM was like, well, I guess that never happened.
And then to add on top of that, it allows them to flesh out their character in a way they maybe not be able to.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, totally. It also lets them put themselves in the headspace of like, how does this character exist when they're on their own, actually? Which, like I said, it gives them...
Who is Dunbar the Dumbarian? Right?
Dumbarian.
How did he become the man he is today?
Yeah. But it naturally puts them in that mindset, kind of like the way I did my session zeros for G&G, intentionally to force people to put themselves in their characters. I'll talk about what I mean by that for the audience.
Yeah, and Botan, no regard for his own life as the old man that he is.
Yeah.
Decided to mock somebody while drinking in front of them who wanted to do a duel or shoot him. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you. And then bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And then you're adding the tuberculosis to him. Just kind of set that in there.
Yeah. Locked it in. But so you guys didn't come up with characters or personality or anything, and I just put you into play. And the idea was it was 10 minutes of your past. It can influence as much as it did happen, but it can influence your backstory as much as you'd like. You don't even need to talk about it when writing a backstory for this character. It could just be a glimpse into something that just happened. It might not have had a big impact on your character. I guess giving your character TB obviously had a pretty big impact on your character.
Not that big. No.
But for most of the players, it's like, oh, you know, this doesn't have to be a big deal. Like, this could be just something that happened to you, but I want it to happen. And part of why is you guys had no characters in mind, and I put you guys in hectic situations, short but hectic situations. And I'm like, what are you doing? And so your natural response is to just think about what you would like the outcome of that instance to be for your character, and naturally think about how to achieve that outcome as yourself, not as a character, because you don't have a character yet. And then after that was done in our session zero, it was like, okay, now write your character. So everybody had a little bit of their character in them. I feel like when you do that, when a player is absent and you do a a special episode of their past, it helps them think about their character because they're going to be alone in that. I would even suggest not putting NPCs or tag-along NPCs in a situation like that, because it really lets them operate alone, and they become they immediately become a more rounded character. All of a sudden, they can think. Weird. Or all of a sudden, you know, if someone needs aggressed, there's no one around to aggress for them, so they have to do the aggressing themselves. Or they just don't see aggressing as an option because no one is around, which puts them in the mindset of having to solve problems without aggression. Whatever traits their character that they normally play is missing, they figure out a way to think around the problem where they would normally lay that problem onto another player party member. So it's a really healthy thing, I think, to do when you have absent players, is to be able to do that, to do a session from their past special episode. I think it's wonderful. That's obviously if we only have one player. So you normally do four-person party?
3 to 4, yeah.
3 to 4?
Mm-hmm.
So what if you have, let's say it's 4. If you have 2 people absent, would you?
Yeah, so...
What would you do?
Yeah, once again, it'll kind of depend on that, what I said before. Like, it depends on who's absent. I do have one of my longtime friends who I met playing World of Warcraft. He lives on the other side of the world. So
Okay.
he's waking up as we play the game.
Okay.
He's waking up at 5 a.m. to play with us. Another one, he is just kind of a flake sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes he schedules to do important things on our game times. So one of them, it's kind of a coin flip between 2 of them if one of them's going to be missing.
Mm-hmm.
And if Haku was missing, it's okay. Like we could play without him.
Is that the one that
That's the flake.
okay? Because I have a player.
I love him. He's great. He's a flake though.
I have a player like that, though I wouldn't want to call her a flake. Her schedule changes frequently at work. So there's just weeks where she's just like, I'm working. I can't.
I just don't have a better word.
Yeah.
The unreliable player.
Sure. For whatever reason, unreliable. Yeah. Whenever she's absent, I do just kind of have the expectation that we are just going to play on.
Yeah, the guy who lives 10 hours or 14 hours ahead of us, he just oversleeps sometimes.
That's fair.
Now, yeah, it's fair because he also has a terrible sleep schedule. He'll stay up to like, his new thing is staying up to like 4 a.m. reading wuxia mangas or wuxia light novels. And he's like, oh, the sun's rising. I gotta go to sleep. Mm-hmm. Great guy. His character was, I gave everybody like, hey, write your backstories. I'm going to write a little blurb for you. I'm going to write a little thing for you. Here's, I'm doing a backstory thing for you too. After you write your things, give it all to me. His character for the place that they were starting, for what he is, for his race and background and all that stuff, was perfect to be an important character to the initial story. So when he was missing and they're in the middle of doing that important story stuff, we can't really go on.
Okay. Yeah. Well, definitely there's going to be times where the wrong player is absent and you have to just push.
Yeah. So
we're in the middle of...
If the guy who's going to speak to the king next week is gone, that's kind of important.
Or we're in the middle of Dumbarian's backstory arc.
Yeah.
And you're not going to play a backstory arc without the character.
Yeah. So that's kind of a problem. But like, if I have at least half the players and they're not in the middle of something that's super important or like potentially like TPK, like maybe they just got back from a quest and like, hey guys, figure out what are you guys going to be doing next week? What ideas you have? And they have their ideas and they tell me. The next week we show up, 2 of them are missing. I can still play that as long as it's not like we're in the middle of something important.
Yeah.
So
I feel like depending on the campaign, obviously, but like my Saturday campaign, I feel like they think, and I get it. It's kind of how we set things up. Where like everything's important, so it's a little bit harder to draw that line. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's like if one player is absent, I'll just continue the game. Also, ideally 4 players for a party size. If one player is absent, then I'll just continue the game. And that character is just not there. Unless there's something really important happening, of course. Unless I deem it's important. But if it's 2 players that are absent, I try to do what I would call an in-world one-shot. And that could be a backstory. Or it could be, depending on where they are in the game. I've done this twice where I was just like, oh, you guys don't have anything going on. Why don't you guys want to just wander into the city? And we'll just do like a role-playing session. And I always make something happen, obviously. And it does advance the campaign, but in a more minor way. Like they were in a new city and I only had 2 out of my, at the time, 3 players. So like they just wandered around the city and had RP moments. And then I presented them with a potential combat, but it turned out to be a connection within the city. And now they have that connection forever for the campaign. So it did advance the campaign. But like it was mostly just like a role-playing session. So that would be like an in-world one. And then in another campaign, I had kind of like you're talking about, like a backstory mission that I did. But I feel like when I get down to around half is when I start making those calls.
Yeah.
When it's just one player absent, then I would rather do I would rather continue the actual campaign, and it's unfortunate that you're absent, but everybody else is here and ready to play when it's only one player. If I only get down to one player, it's probably bad for me to say on mic, but it depends how much I enjoy that player. Whether it's going to be like, yeah, let's do a one shot or something, and be like, let's just push to next week.
It's understandable. Yeah, that's understandable. I know when Morgan hears this episode, he's gonna be like, "Hype, one player episode, one player." I'm like, maybe with someone else. Morgan,
maybe 2-player.
I'm just kidding.
Of course,
not really. A little.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it definitely depends on your party size. But I would say like when it gets down to around half is when I kind of don't want to continue with the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
If something important is happening or when it gets down to half. And then there's also just the if I can run something in world. If I can't run something in world, then it's we're just going to do some, I'm down to play, but we'll do some bullshit. Make some quick character sheet and we'll just do some bullshit, game, whatever.
Run some random one shot.
Yeah. Some random nonsense. It's also, that's a great purpose for that, because I run mostly serious campaigns. A great purpose for that is also just being able to do nonsense with an otherwise sensical party. Being able to do like, yeah, you guys are all kobolds for no reason. And it's like a goofy little one-shot dumb thing.
Hit him with the domain observers.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice for being able to do that so that people can kind of fuck around for a bit and get that relief of fucking around. I think that is generally a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what do you do with your absent players? Or sorry, your absent player characters.
It depends. So like if they're,
what do you specifically?
It depends on, again. It just depends on everything.
What have you done?
I'm very nitpicky. So if they're absent in a place where it's reasonable for them to just be missing, that's the best in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't like it when there is a player character who's kind of just NPC'd around, because in my mind, nobody should be playing the player character but the player. But if I find it important, then I would, as a DM, think I would have to commandeer that character for a bit.
Yeah, I don't like commandeering characters.
Yeah,
either.
I don't like that idea, because like, unless I have access to them, like they just can't make it because they're somewhere else or whatever. I'll be like, hey, what would you do in this situation?
Oh, never.
Shoot them off in Discord.
I do not. This is important for everybody to hear. When I'm playing the game, when I'm DMing, I am only paying attention to my players that are at the table. I am not paying attention to anything else going on in the world. I do not check text messages. I do not check messages on Discord. I do not check emails. I might privately message a player occasionally, but even then I usually don't do that. I'm not fucking talking to anybody that's not at the table. No, if you're not at the table, you're absent.
As a DM, I am doing everything. I am conspiring against you with other players. I'm conspiring against you with other players who aren't even there.
Yeah, I don't do that at all.
I'm deciding your fate with another Discord's opinion of what you guys did. I'm doing everything. Don't trust me.
I have a player that's also a DM, and they'll be messaging me while they're DMing, and we'll be having a full conversation of complex things and like building classes and shit like that. And then I find out they're DMing, and I'm like, how are you talking to me right now? And then the end of the conversation is usually, okay, well, I'm hopping into a game, so I'll talk to you later.
Some people can do it. Some people probably just fake it. Anyway, I don't know, but it just depends. I don't like doing the commandeering, but like if I do have access to a player, I'm like, hey, if somebody does this, what would this guy do? I'm like, okay. So then when it gets to that point, I'm like, yeah, absent player, he says no, and you guys should fuck off. And then that'll be that.
I think what I would normally do in that situation if I had to NPC PC, I would probably just, I usually, in those situations, they're just a combatant. You have a combatant ally. They are not going to participate in the story. They are here for checks and checks alone.
Mm-hmm.
If they are the thief and you need a door unlocked, I'll roll for that on their character sheet. But otherwise, pretend they're not here. Because I don't like commandeering. I don't like commandeering player character personalities.
Yeah, I get that. But I also don't even like the commandeering them as a combat aspect too, because there might be a character who is particular about what they do. Like, let's take Balmar, for instance. You know what Balmar never did? Heal people. Unless they specifically asked.
Yeah.
And nobody asked. So he never healed anybody.
Love it.
Right? So, like, if Balmar was there in the party, there was no meat wagon, and you just had, you know, the 3 people there. You had Ace's character, your character,
I guess I
and
just
somebody else. Like,
I get what you're saying.
Would you have Balmar walk up to somebody and cast 5th level cure wounds in the middle of a combat?
Yeah,
when
but
instead he would be casting Call Lightning on whoever he's fighting, or Shatter.
I mean, obviously, I would try and do that as much as possible, but also I would just talk with my players and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna play them mechanically, but like narratively, not necessarily. These things are happening. Like anything I do with the NPCs kind of becomes like Monopoly."
Mm.
Also what I've done is just changed the combat. This is one that I've done. I've changed the combat so that it was rated for who was at the table. And then every couple of turns, I'm like, and Balmar's in the background, calling lightning. Like, it's not hitting anyone. It's air quotes hitting. But it's not hitting anyone. It's not doing anything. They're there. They're doing stuff. They're helping out. Look at how good they're doing. Anyways.
They're fighting narratively.
Yeah, they're fighting
narratively. A narrative enemy.
Yes.
That was taken out of the combat.
There are extra combatants, and that's what they're attacking in the background. And they're really holding their own. Look at them go. You should be happy with what they're doing.
That could work.
Yeah. But I would do things like using thieves' tools or whatever. And obviously I would try and keep it as close to whatever that character would do. Trying not to cross any boundaries or whatever, but I don't mind. If you have a thief and you're missing a thief and you're trying to do thief things, it makes sense to me. It's like, yeah, we'll just use their character sheet. We're literally just using their stats. It's just we're adding a little Monopoly into the session as far as your player party is concerned. I don't think that's a big deal. But yeah, commandeering, I feel like is a finicky business. It's not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree if there's a place that you can shelve them to, that is better. You know, like
if you have a camp or you guys are hosting it, hole up in an inn.
Yeah, if there's an inn or a hotel or a camp or wherever where they could just be off to the side for whatever reason, if you know that they're going to be able to come back from that, like you're not checking out of the inn today, then yeah, I think that's way better.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I also don't like, in general, I do a thing, which I know a lot of DMs would probably disagree with, but there's a degree of just letting my party win that I just don't care about. So like in certain situations, like when the people are walking along the road, I get that they're supposed to be like, oh, there's the navigator, and then there's the lookout, and then there's the combatant or whatever the fuck it is of like assigning roles to walking. But realistically, I've walked in a group. Everyone can look around. So I'll just be like, everybody gets perception checks. I don't care. And in other situations, I'll have like the constant, like where like I'm thinking of the seagulls from Finding Nemo, and they're like, mine, mine, mine. And it's just like all the different heads popping up when one player's like, I want to insight that. And then they fail. And then everyone else is like, can I roll an insight? And it doesn't bother me that much until it gets to like, oh, can absent player roll an insight? And it's like, nah, you lost. All right, just move on.
Yeah.
I don't want to use I don't want to use an absent player's character sheet to just win for you.
Yeah, to band-aid your failures.
Yeah, you should be winning.
Yeah.
Or failing, and you should just accept that. Mine. Can I roll an insight? So funny. I'm glad that doesn't bother me because I know that bothers a lot of DMs. I really don't care. I'm like, yeah, fucking. I will go as far as to be like calling on other people, like Ace rolls an insight, fails, and then Lucky's like, "Can I roll an insight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Gray, Nix, you want to get in on this action?
It bothers me to no end. It's like, well, you guys, you investigate this room, you search it up and down, you failed. Can I roll an investigation check too? I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And it like narrowly passes, like, okay, you failed.
Actually, that wasn't enough.
I'm sorry, I forgot there was an extra -1 penalty on that. Sorry, it's not a 21, that's a 20.
Sorry. Oh, did you critically succeed? Sorry. For reasons I can't get into, I actually need you to roll at disadvantage. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest. It doesn't bother me that much. It only bothers me when it's too stagnated. Like if a bunch of people, if my whole party at the same time wants to roll an insight check, I don't mind it at all. But it's when it's like, can I roll?
Yeah, they're responding to the failure.
Responding to the
else's
failures
roll.
bothers me. And then just to bring it back to the topic, trying to use absent players' character sheets to respond to the failures is even worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, shoving them in the dark corner somewhere if you have an absent player character or an absent player, shoving the player character in the dark corner somewhere, I think is a pretty viable thing to do. I don't mind them using them as like just a rolling block, stat block. I don't mind it. I don't like commandeering personality. I try to do that as little as humanly possible. But yeah. All right.
Nix, what do you think?
Oh, hold on. Let me commandeer his personality. Ooh, I'm deaf.
I'm deaf, and you know what? It's time for our sponsors.
I was actually going to do that on his behalf. Damn it, Nix. We were right in the middle of a conversation. Now it's dead.
Steamrolled it. It's over. All the momentum is gone.
But on that note, just guessing the legs on it. I do have anecdotes that I'll get into after we do the loot table of the backstory style missions and whatnot that I've done. But considering the legs I think that this topic has, let's turn over to our loot table. Let's see what our sponsors have to say today.
Yeah.
Fucking Nix. Get out of here.
Let's go and roll.
His phantom has been pointing at the phone timer for the last 10 minutes.
He won't stop showing me his phone.
Who our sponsors will be.
Come on. Let's go.
Let's go roll on the loot table.
Before we get to the loot table, I do feel like this is how every two-person podcast is going to go. It's just, oh, fuck, it's looping. All right, I guess it is our desk. I think this is how the two-person podcast is going to go always, which is whoever's absent, we're just going to talk loads of shit about them the whole time.
Yeah, just like we do with our players.
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
All right. Turning over to, oh, fuck, I don't have the thing open.
I'll get it.
Yeah, you want to get that open? But rolling on our loot table, who's our sponsor going to be? Let's go and see. It's a 3.
A 3. So I open up. That's not the right one. I open up.
Organization.
That's not the right one.
We should really have shortcuts on the computer so that
Yeah.
Nix can not know where they are and not open them in time.
Yeah. All right. So that means our sponsor today.
I love that he's editing this one, by the way.
So you're saying we should make it really hard for him. Did I not move this one? There we go. Innkeeper's Fitness.
I love it. I love it already.
As a special request by Sav here. Still reeling from those heroes' feasts you've conjured up for the holidays? Encumbrance slowing you down as you try to figure a way to shed some pounds? You know it. I know it. We can all use a little working out. And to make things worse, adventuring season is right around the corner. Why wait when you can lose the weight at Innkeeper's Fitness? Innkeeper's Fitness is the #1 affordable training ground for adventurers of all levels who want to enhance their health without the need to remain in stealth. For just 10 silver a month, you too can find your adventure-ready body and embark on a journey that you deserve. At Innkeeper's Fitness, you'll find a comfortable and welcoming environment to practice your cardio checks or your strength challenges while offering a wide variety of exercises that cater to every adventurer's class. Sorry, no barbarians allowed. This is a rage-free zone. Go join Innkeeper's Fitness today because in a world of adventure, a balanced body is the key to victory.
I was waiting for it to finish so that I could do the barbarian angle as the bullshit off the back end of it.
Hey, you asked for that to be in there?
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
remembered.
Yeah. That's pretty wonderful. I love the angle of like a pudgy adventurer and it's like, winter's ending. Adventure season's coming. I gotta shed a couple of pounds so that I look good in my armor.
I need to get my 2 strength back. I'm all constitution now.
I love it. I love the angle. One thing I will not be doing is bolstering our sponsor because I feel like it would be just disingenuous because you would never see me at an Innkeeper's Fitness. I'm just not going to go. I'm not doing it.
Oh, you have a personal gripe against Innkeeper's Fitness, Sov?
No. It's not even that. I mean, I did work for an Innkeeper's Fitness and it was one of the worst, most corporate, horrible places that I've ever worked. But no, it's not even that. I just have a very strict lifestyle of no food, no sleep, caffeine, and cigarettes. And it just, I don't have the time within that lifestyle to work out.
All you need is an Adidas tracksuit.
So I need the fitness attire. I just don't have time for the fitness.
Yeah, teach you how to do a proper Slav squat on the corner with the cigarette in one hand, the Red Bull infused vodka in the other.
I love it.
Listening to some German hardstyle. I think that should do.
I could get into German hardstyle. I'm into that. I love it. Some happy hardcore. That'd be great. I'll listen to workout music. I'll wear workout clothes, but I'll be damned if I'm ever going to go to a gym.
These beads of sweat only form because of the summer heat, not because of calorie burning.
Yeah. Well, and meat sweats, you know. You got to get the meat sweats in. Oh, lovely. So yeah, I said I had some anecdotes. So on the backstory one, I had a great one. It was with the player that I said, you know, sometimes her schedule changes, so she's not available. But we had a great one where it was just like from her youth, I pulled from her backstory, one of the characters from her backstory, and she had to go save that character. I pulled like things from the backstory that were like items that would make sense, and there would be like endearing things. It was actually a really good, it was narratively a really fun, despite being a bit goofier, a really fun little one shot. Also, I did it in a city that was like less developed in my world, so it helped me like develop that city a little bit more, which was really fun. I've actually talked about it, that session on the podcast before. This is the one where I did the Daredevil style hallway fisticuffs scene, where it's just beating up a bunch of low level thugs in a very cramped hallway. And that was, I believe the topic of that episode was related to moving on after failing instead of being like asking for a saving throw after a saving throw after a saving throw. She just accepted it. Like she opened the door and there were a bunch of bad guys in the door and she was like, ah, shit, guess it's time for initiative. Instead of being like, can I stealth? And it's like, that's over. They're looking at you, you know? She accepted it. We had a really cool, fun hallway fight scene that was specifically designed for her to win, but to beat her up a little bit before she gets to that final door. If she didn't choose the final door first, before she gets to that final door, which led to the boss fight. So it was intentionally to get her beat up a bit before going into the boss fight. And she happened to trigger it, so we happened to do it. But that was fun. And also, like, being able to do a boss fight. Okay. Marvel got to a point where MCU got to a point where, like, you can't really do the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man stuff anymore. Everything's like galactic level threats and whatnot. Really big missed opportunity. The year between Infinity and Endgame, they could have done it. All of a sudden, there were no threats. There were half the heroes and whatnot. They could have started doing some ground level. There's just some Kingpin style boss that needs to be addressed. They could have done it. It was kind of a missed opportunity, I think.
Oh, that's true. They could have just done Kingpin.
They could have done Kingpin. They could have done
They could have done any of the Spider-Mans.
They did introduce him later. They did it, but it was post Endgame stuff. I forget his moniker, but Hawkeye. Hawkeye goes evil. And they do it in like a cutscene montage thing of Hawkeye kind of lost his mind a little bit. But that could have been like a whole movie or a show. They couldn't have done Spider-Man because he was gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have done a bunch of like lower level stuff that people kind of miss. So it would have hit the nostalgia of like it not being an Avengers level threat. But
yeah, a region-wide threat.
Yeah.
The fifth level fighters threat.
Yeah. But you don't have, it's not an Avengers level threat, but also we don't have the Avengers right now. So it's kind of a missed opportunity. That's another nice thing about having a single player and doing these one-shots is she, in this little like backstory mission that we were doing, I was able to do that. It wasn't this big overarching threat. It was actually, it was kind of like that. It was like a crime boss that had absconded with her brother, her character's brother, and she had to go get her brother back. And there was a boss fight. But the boss fight was like a big orc. You know what I mean? Like she's at a level where as a player party, they could be fighting like wormlings or something. But I was able to do just a, air quotes, big orc Kingpin style character because it was a single combatant. You know what I mean? It was a one-on-one thing. So it's kind of nice as in that sense as well, being able to like bring it back and a little bit more grounded because you only have a single player. And it was great narrative. It added to her backstory. I think she wrote stuff afterwards about her, like expanded on her backstory because of it. It was fantastic. It was really fun, and it was a great thing to do with everybody being absent. It felt connected very much to the campaign because it's her character in the campaign, and putting herself in the mindset of her when she was younger. It was really cool. I had a lot of fun doing that. And so the moment you brought it up, that was the first thing I thought about. It's like, oh, I've done that, and it's a really fun thing to do. And I like doing in-world stuff. If it's a backstory thing, great. But I like doing in-world stuff as much as possible because it gives the players the feeling like this isn't just a useless thing that we're doing. There's like a reason for it rather than just being like, make new characters, we're going to do a goofy one-shot.
Yeah, it's like it gives them either insight into the world or themselves, or like, hey, my character exists beyond like the current storyline game they're doing.
Yeah. I would love to do, even if it did come down to like, this is just going to be an offset one shot with different characters, I'd still like to try and keep it within world. Even though it's meta information at that point, it gives you insight into the world and what's going on. And it allows you to explore other like, I don't think in my Saturday campaign, I don't think we're ever going to explore the east part of my map. And I make a new map and world and everything every time I make a game, so I don't think that's ever going to exist. But it'd be cool in a one shot to just do like random characters hanging out in the east. Why not?
That's also what I do with my one shots, really, or my intermission campaigns, is that I give my players a glimpse of something they haven't actually been to yet.
Yeah.
So in the future, like if they want to go there, it's like, hey, you guys did a thing over there in that one shot. It's all canon.
Yeah.
You guys started a gang over here. You guys
took out this guy over here.
You guys revived the ancient evil over there.
There's just a demi-lich hanging around in this area.
Yeah, little taste of this culture. Now go ruin it some more.
Now go ruin it some more. Yeah. I mentioned already that like I also like to do, if I have like more than one character, I do think it's fun to do in-world chronological, like in-time one-shots as well. Generally, though, it really depends on the group because they're often going to be just RP sessions. Otherwise, there's the risk of them not being back in time for the next session, if that makes sense. I also just have a built-in thing for one player where we stopped narratively playing through these instances, but they play a Dampier, and the idea is that every once in a while they have to feed, and they do it at night. So it's not something they want to actively do necessarily in the campaign. They just like Dampiers for the thematic reasons. But to be thematic, we did need an explanation of feeding. They're like, oh yeah, sometimes at night they go out and feed. And then now they have turned someone else into a Dampier, so they go out and feed together. And we've had a couple of moments of them like going out and we narratively painted it. And I was like, hey, we should stop doing that, by the way. And they're like, oh, why? And I was like, because if we don't describe it and everybody else is absent in the future, we could play through one of those feeding nights. You want to just have a villain run? So like, I think if you can, building in those like, someone build into your campaign of like, oh, someone went out for 12 hours and then they're back, and just narratively gloss over it gives you that little ability to do those in-world, in-game, in-time.
Yeah, you create a little subplot.
Yeah, you create little pockets where one-shots could happen. And by the time you do them, they might be backstory. I have a feeling that campaign's going to last years, which is cool. But yeah, I think doing those is wonderful. Being able to do, when you have absent players, being able to do little one-shots, preferably as in-world as possible. Not necessarily as in-time as possible. I think there's so much merit to doing backstory missions. I think that's really fun to do. And like, sometimes, talking about the same character, the Dampier, it would be fun to do it with that character because they are arcing into a person, and they have been since the campaign started. But the idea is that that's not what they were, right? So it'd be really fun to take that character and put them back into being this like eldritch horror hunter, cold, ruthless. It'd be cool to put them back in that headspace, which we never were actually in. It's who they were before they got here. Immediately when they got here, arcing started. But it'd be cool to go back to that. It'd be cool to go back to being ruthless and cold and uncaring and very professional and about the job. It'd be awesome to do with that character a backstory session. It also might take place in the Shadow Plane, in the Shadowfell. So like that would be fun to play with as well. Yeah. I think it's great. You said you've never had the opportunity to do that?
I mean, I probably had the opportunity to do that. I just didn't have the wherewithal to actually do it at the time.
Yeah, just didn't think about it.
Like in my first campaign, I probably could have done it a couple times. I just didn't have the expertise, I guess, or
Well, it's also just the idea.
the idea as well. Like
Yeah.
I didn't watch that series until after my first campaign.
Yeah.
So,
What have you done one shots when players are absent?
I did my own version of Realm Watchers.
When players were absent?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So
Okay.
there were a couple of those. I played for them my very first Realm Watcher game in Cabaldistan and the Mountain Man.
Cabaldistan.
Yeah.
Love it.
and they played through that, and they did something entirely different from what you guys did, so it was very interesting. And I think because of the way they handle things, they actually fight the mountain man. They said just slaughtered the kobolds.
It was always an option.
It was always an option.
So one thing that you and Nix have that I don't is I don't watch TTRPG media pretty much at all. What have you seen other players do in terms of, this is like a final talking point, and I'm lending it over to you as much as you would like to expand upon this, but you'd be as informative to me as you would the audience potentially. What have you seen other people do in terms of player absences? How many players absences, or how many players being absent to postpone an episode, or how many players absent to do something different with the episode, or to just continue playing? Because like, I can't imagine like Critical Role just moving on with a player being not there. I almost think that they would just like film on an off day. But I don't know. I don't watch their longer series.
Yeah, well, I've never watched Critical Role, so I can't speak to them.
Yeah, but you watch other ones. That's just the one that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know. Dungeon Daddies. What do you watch?
Just Koibu.
Just Koibu.
He's my guy.
Well,
He's
I
the
guess
best.
if that's, so you've already talked about that a little bit.
He's the best. Yeah. Well, he's where I got the idea for the whole backstory thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was when a player and they're in a campaign where everything that's happening is important. Hey, a player's gonna be missing. Hey, all right. Well, does one of you guys want to do this backstory episode? And he's done like, I think 3 or 4 in that one campaign, and
Nice.
Each of them are very interesting. I think there was a time where he was running, I think, a 5th edition game, and one of the players going to make it, and so he just kind of did like, yeah, they're there, and if they're going to say something, it's going to be very minimal, and so they're just there with you, and maybe they'll cast a spell in combat, and it's like, oh, well, what do you think, absent player? Yeah, sure. That's him commandeering the player for that moment.
Yeah, with just like yes or no, or go or don't go, or whatever.
Yeah. There was a long time ago on the official Wizards of the Coast stream on Twitch. I think there was a player missing for one of their games, and they just ignored their existence for that episode.
It's a common thing to do.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much all I can say I've seen. I think
I imagine like the big ones probably just postpone recording or record on an off day. I imagine that's what we would do, especially because our intentions is to like play shorter things, record all of it, and then release. So like if someone couldn't show up, it doesn't matter because we're not on the schedule anyways.
all the stuff that I've watched, it was recorded live.
Yeah.
It was streamed live.
Yeah,
and then
I'm saying like a big
archived.
difference for
Yeah,
us
yeah.
is that we can
We
just
can
record
just-
on an
yeah.
off day.
like we already do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't watch enough D&D media to know what people would do. I probably should, because like get good ideas from that. Like I had the idea on my own of the backstory one, but I'm sure there's other things that people do that are probably healthier. Like I would love to see how people handle downtime in general. Downtime in more serious games though. So like Westward's March downtime is easy. You do a mission and be like, oh, cool. How long are you guys hanging out doing nothing? Okay, what are you doing in that time? Okay, make some rolls, whatever, crafting, blah, blah, blah. But in a non-Westward's March campaign, I would love to see what other DMs do. But also then I'd have to start watching countless hours of other people's games, and I don't want to.
Well, I mean,
For the same reason, I feel like this kind of touches on our homebrew versus off the shelf. I don't care about other people's campaigns. I think they're entertaining. I think they're great. I just don't care enough to spend the time doing it.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, I like watching Koibu. He's good.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's great.
I think Critical Role's great.
I like watching their shorts, their clips.
I like
they're
watching their
hilarious.
one-shots because it's digestible lengthwise.
Mm.
Because my only issue with like...
That is a thing. That like sometimes you'll get campaigns that have gone on for like a year. And that's 52
like
episodes of 4-hour blocks.
Yeah, and there's just no way I'm going to ever watch that much media. I'm just not.
Yeah.
If it's not Dragon Ball Z, I'm not watching that level of media.
It's probably about as long as Dragon Ball Z, I think.
All of Critical Role right now, probably longer. Because Dragon Ball Z is like 15, 20-minute episodes, 20-minute episodes?
Yeah, like 200 something episodes though.
More. There's like 450, I want to say. Sorry, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. I always lump those together. Yeah. But
I mean, I've been...
Yeah, of just Dragon Ball Z? Oh, for sure it's longer, I would say.
I've been watching the official Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel on Twitch for the last month. I've seen all the series of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's kind of broken up because I can't watch it when I'm asleep or at work. But I've seen a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! I could have been watching D&D.
You could have been watching D&D. I also just like... Right now, I have so many games running that in my free time, I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, I can see that with you.
I get
now.
clips that come up,
in
and
your
I'm like,
situation.
Yeah. I already.
You're kind of D&Ding all week.
I spend a third of my waking hours playing D&D. I spend another third of my waking hours prepping for D&D.
Then the other third you could be watching.
Yeah, I'm good. I literally see clips come up on like YouTube, and I'm like, next.
If you ever do, I highly recommend
Koibu,
Hardcore Heroes, and then Frozen Frontier, and then Homeward Bound. They are so good.
What's the shortest of those?
Homeward Bound. But
I'll watch that
it's
one.
a sequel. It's a sequel of Frozen Frontier.
Fuck. You fuck.
There's also like 300 episodes of Shenanigans, which is Westward Boundish.
Okay.
It takes place in a city. It's very silly. But Hardcore Heroes, Frozen Frontier, Homeward Bound. Amazing.
Good campaigns.
Amazing.
I feel like my Saturday campaign would be... I mean, there's been issues at the table. There's not right now with the current party, but there have been in the past. So like that would have been a little bit shaky, but the narrative itself, I fucking love. But we are off topic at the end of no longer having talking points.
Mm-hmm.
So we should probably say, thank you for listening to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones. I'm Sav. You can find my links in the description. You can find me over at startplaying.games if you want me to run games for you. I do take custom requests, so if there's nothing that you see on my profile that you like, feel free to reach out. I'm Nick Simeon.
And I'm deaf.
Nick's also will have links in the description. He has a YouTube channel. He plays a lot of, what's the beaver game?
I don't know the name of it.
Timberborn.
There you go.
Timberborn. So, yeah, go to his YouTube channel. Check him out. He plays, Timberborn. Makes beaver stuff.
Yeah, I'm Graythorn. I used to stream games, but now I'm trying to figure out whether that's going to happen again.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Maybe I'll stream Dota. That sounds awful. Yeah, you could find my games on my YouTube channel. I think they're very fun.
You have full campaigns on your YouTube channel.
I have full campaigns on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, check them out.
Go look at them. I hope you've enjoyed our new and improved 2-man podcast.
It's much better, much smoother, a lot shorter.
A lot of me talking. That's weird. I don't like it.
I do. So I've actually been like, whether it's me absent or Nick's absent, I think it's great because we get a lot of you talking out of it. Because like, who else is gonna fucking talk?
Talking too much.
Make sure to like, subscribe, hit bells. I don't even know where we're at with our subscriber account. I was absent for a little bit, so
give us money.
Yeah, whatever number you see on the screen, one more than that, that's our current goal. So be that one more.
Go show us to all your friends.
Yeah, show us to all your friends
and your enemies.
Hit up our website or our Patreon. Buy merch. Give us money.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening.